What does it feel like to watch your whole world fall apart in the time it takes to open a door? For Ava Morgan, that moment came on a summer night, humid, heavy, and unforgettable. It was the kind of night that clung to your skin warm, sticky, and thick, with the scent of magnolias and regret. Savannah, Georgia, hummed its usual song, jazz spilling onto sidewalks, the hush of traffic fading into laughter from hidden courtyards. Inside a worn-out bar tucked between cracked brick buildings, Midnight Hollow, Ava Morgan, 25, wiped the same corner of the counter. She'd already cleaned 3 times, not because it was dirty, but because her hands needed something to do. She should have been smiling at tipsy strangers, pouring drinks with the kind of charm that made her a local favorite. But tonight, her mind was somewhere else, entirely in a one-bedroom apartment, with a man she once trusted, and the girl she used to call her sister. 3 years. 3 damn years, with Landon Reyes, only to find him in bed with Tessa Clark, her best friend since high school. No screaming, no scenes, just the sound of laughter as she walked in and the sound of silence as she walked out. By midnight, the bar was nearly empty. Ava reached under the counter, pulled out a cheap bottle of whiskey, meant for staff use only, and poured herself a shot, then another. Her hands shook, but she didn't stop. 3 years. And I lose to her, she whispered to no one. The whiskey burned, her eyes blurred, and just when the sadness started to twist into something like numbness, the door creaked open. He didn't belong here. That much was obvious. Julian Hart, 30, had the air of someone who always wore control like a second skin. Tailored suit, polished shoes, jawline too sharp for a bar that smelled like spilled beer and broken hearts. He was in town for business, another development, another deal. But tonight, he wanted to disappear. And Midnight Hollow was the only place on the street without valet parking or overpriced cocktails. He took a seat 3 stools down, ordered bourbon, said nothing. Ava saw him, or rather, she felt him like a shift in the room's gravity. She stumbled over, half laughing, half breaking. "You look like the kind of man who keeps secrets," she said, her words soft and slurred. "Buy me a drink, and I'll trade you one of mine." Julian raised a brow, amused but cautious. "You're drowning in more than whiskey," he replied. "Maybe start with some water." She grinned through the ache. "Water doesn't fix betrayal. But maybe bourbon can make me forget for one night." He stayed. She talked, or rather, spilled memories, heartache, things she hadn't even told herself yet, and he just listened, not judging, not fixing, just there. Somewhere between the 3rd glass and the 5th song on the jukebox, they left. No plan, no promises, just 2 strangers, broken in different ways, crashing into each other like waves in the dark. She woke up the next morning to sunlight and silence, a king-sized bed, a strange ceiling, a headache pounding in her skull, and confusion curling in her gut, clothes scattered, memories fragmented, and then she noticed her necklace gone, a delicate sapphire teardrop on a thin silver chain, the last thing her grandmother ever gave her, her anchor, her piece of home. Ava's breath caught. No, 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 no. She clutched the blanket to her chest, panic rising like bile, and that's when she heard the water running. The stranger from the bar, Julian, was still here. Steam curled out from the bathroom as Julian Hart stepped into the suite, freshly showered, impeccably dressed, holding a mug of black coffee like this was any ordinary morning. "Morning," he said casually, as if she hadn't woken up naked and confused in a stranger's bed. Ava bolted upright, yanking the hotel sheet to her chest. Her heart pounded. "Where's my necklace?" she asked, voice tight and rising. "I had it last night. It's gone." Did you take it?" Julian said nothing. He simply reached into his pocket, pulling out the delicate sapphire pendant, letting it dangle from his fingers. This? He asked, voice unreadable. Ava lunged toward it, but he stepped back, just out of reach. Not so fast, he said smoothly. I've got a proposal, she froze, cheeks burning. What kind of game is this? Give it back. But he didn't flinch. He leaned against the wall, sipping his coffee like he had all the time in the world. I need someone to play fiancé, he said, just for one night. Big family gala this weekend. They're trying to marry me off to some heiress with a trust fund and no soul. You play the part, convincingly, and the necklace is yours. Ava stared at him. That's blackmail, he shrugged, and I'll cover those hospital bills you're drowning in from your grandmother's care. I did my homework. Ava's chest tightened. She hadn't told him that, but it was true. The debts never stopped. Her bartending shifts barely kept the lights on. Why me? She whispered. Julian smiled faintly. You're here, and you're real. One night, Ava, that's all. She wanted to say no. She wanted to throw that coffee in his face, but that necklace. It was the last thing her grandmother had ever given her, and she'd already lost so much. After a long beat, Ava nodded. Fine, one night. But I'm not your doll. Julian's lips curved. Noted. We leave for New York in 2 hours. That afternoon, they boarded a flight. Ava wore clothes borrowed from the hotel gift shop, cheap fabric and awkward seams. Next to Julian, all pressed linen and quiet luxury, she felt like a misplaced puzzle piece in a painting. But she kept going. For the necklace, for the bills, for herself. They stopped at a small cafe near the hotel in Manhattan. She barely had time to breathe when fate turned cruel. Landon and Tessa, laughing, arm in arm, like they hadn't shattered her 3 nights ago. Ava's stomach dropped. The air felt thinner. Landon's smirk hit her like a slap. Well, he said, voice loud enough for the room. Didn't expect to see you in the city. Still chasing my shadow? Tessa chimed in, venom sweet on her tongue. Heard you got caught shoplifting back in high school. Always knew you were messy, Ava. Ava's fists clenched. But before she could speak, Julian stepped in. He slid an arm around her waist with ease, his tone low and lethal. She's not chasing anyone. She's mine. Landon blinked. Tessa stammered. Yours? She scoffed. Julian didn't flinch. My fiancé. And you too? You're nothing but static. He turned Ava, gently, guiding her out, as camera shutters clicked behind them. Outside, her heart thudded in her chest. What was that? She hissed. Julian looked at her, unfazed. Practice, he said. For tonight, Ava didn't know if she wanted to scream or say thank you. Maybe both. Back at the hotel, Ava stood before the mirror. A deep blue gown borrowed, expensive, too elegant for someone who served drinks and cleaned up broken glass for a living, hugged her body like it belonged to another woman. One night, she whispered to her reflection, just one night. Across the room, Julian adjusted his tie, calm as ever. Ready? He asked, meeting her gaze in the mirror. She nodded, though her stomach twisted. They left as the sky turned gold over Long Island. The Hart family estate sat on a cliff, bathed in sunset light, towering and untouchable. Inside, the chandeliers sparkled like stars, and the guests glided across marble floors with champagne in hand and judgment in their eyes. Julian offered his arm. Just smile, he murmured, and follow my lead. Ava smiled. It didn't reach her eyes, but it would do. The moment Ava and Julian stepped into the grand hall, the whispers began. Heads turned. Eyes scanned her up and down. The buzz wasn't just about what she was wearing, it was about who she was. The earlier paparazzi photos had done their job, and now the room stirred with quiet judgment, dressed in diamonds and cologne. The first to greet them wasn't a guest, but a storm. Richard Hart, Julian's father, approached with the weight of a man who always expected the world to listen. Broad-shouldered, silver-haired, voice low and sharp, like broken glass. "So this is her?" he muttered. "The bartender fiancé? Julian, what are we doing?" Julian's expression stayed calm. "She's with me. That's all that matters." Richard scoffed, eyes never leaving Ava. "She's after your money. I've seen this type before." Ava's cheeks burned, but she said nothing. Her fingers tightened slightly on Julian's arm, anchoring herself in place. Then came Sophie Hart, Julian's younger sister, dripping in couture and venom. She gave Ava a sugar-sweet smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Cute dress," she purred. "Did the hotel housekeeping let you borrow it?" Laughter fluttered nearby. Ava's jaw clenched. Julian stepped forward, his voice low but firm. "That's enough, Sophie. She's my guest." Sophie rolled her eyes. "Let's see how long she lasts." She turned and walked away, already typing something on her phone. The night dragged on. Ava stayed close to Julian as he moved through the crowd, shaking hands and faking smiles. She tried to match his ease, but every glance felt like a spotlight, every whisper a dagger. Then her phone buzzed. She pulled it from her clutch, only to feel her stomach drop. A tweet from Sophie's account. "Meet Julian Hart's fiancé, shoplifter, liar, gold digger. Classy choice, bro." Attached was a blurry photo of Ava, taken that afternoon at the cafe. The comments were worse. Trash. Caldwell's slumming it. Thief in designer skin. Ava's hands shook. Her vision blurred. The memory flooded back 14 years old, stealing $50 to buy medication for her dying grandmother. One stupid choice turned into a headline. She found Julian by the bar, staring at his phone, jaw clenched. "You saw it?" she whispered, holding out her screen. He nodded, eyes cold. "Sophie," he said flatly, "I'll take care of it." Before she could stop him, he stepped into the center of the ballroom and gently tapped a spoon against a champagne glass. The room silenced. All eyes turned. "I have something to say," he announced. "The tweet going around? It's a lie. My sister posted it." A pause. Ava Morgan isn't a thief. When she was a kid, she made a desperate choice to save someone she loved. Something most of you, let's be honest, wouldn't have had the courage to do. I'm suing Sophie for defamation, and if anyone else has a problem with my fiancé, come talk to me. Gasps rippled through the room. Ava stood frozen, stunned. He didn't have to do that. Not for a fake engagement, not for her. Sophie stormed toward them, face flushed. "You're joking, right? She's nobody." Julian didn't blink. "She's with me. That's enough." Back in the hallway, Ava pulled him aside, heart still pounding. "Why did you do that?" she asked. He looked at her, calm but intent. "Because it was the truth. And I don't let people tear down what's mine." The word mine caught her off guard. It clung to her chest longer than it should have. But she swallowed the feeling. This was a deal. That's all. Later that night, back in the hotel suite, Ava was still reeling when Julian's phone rang. He answered on speaker. Richard's voice thundered through. "I had her background checked, Julian. Heart condition, just like her grandmother. She's a liability. End this now." Julian's expression didn't change, but his hand curled tightly around the phone. "She's not yours to approve, Dad. She's not your problem." He hung up, then turned to her, softer. "You okay?" Ava nodded slowly. "Thanks for defending me." Again, he gave her a half smile, something gentle in his eyes. "Get some rest. You've earned it." The next morning, Ava scrolled through her phone, a cup of coffee warming her hands. The headline stared back at her. Hart CEO defends fiancé in gala showdown. Her name everywhere. She groaned. But deep down, something flickered. He didn't just stand up for her. He made it public. Then another buzz. A message from an unknown number. This isn't over, Ava. Watch your back. Her heart skipped. She showed it to Julian, who frowned. Sophie, he muttered. Or someone she's dragging in. No more pretending. They were in deep now, and this was just the beginning. Manhattan, late evening. The lights outside twinkle like stars trapped in glass, but the mood inside Hart Enterprises is anything but magical. Julian's jaws clenched, eyes narrowed at the screen in front of him. He scrolls through Sophie's social feed, pausing on a new post, a grainy, black and white photo of a man in a hoodie captioned, "Payback's coming." A chill runs through him. She's not letting this go, he mutters. Ava, who's been hovering nearby, furrows her brow. What's her problem with me? Julian doesn't look away from the screen. It's not you. It's me. She hates anyone who threatens her seat at the family table. Before Ava can respond, Julian's assistant Tom, wiry and always in motion, bursts in, holding a tablet like it's on fire. Sir, you need to see this. It's not just Sophie. Someone else is digging into Ava's past. Julian grabs the device. His eyes move quickly. His face goes cold. Private investigator. Hired by my father. Ava's heart sinks. Your dad hired someone to spy on me? Julian nods. Grim. He's trying to find something, anything, to push you out. He doesn't trust you. Ava sinks into the nearest chair, the weight of it all pressing down hard. I didn't sign up for this, she whispers. Julian kneels beside her, his voice quieter now. No, but you're not in this alone. I promise I'll fix it. Hours later, Ava stands at the hotel window, her reflection superimposed over the glowing skyline. What was supposed to be one night has unraveled into something darker. Family politics, social sabotage, personal threats. Julian's words from earlier echo in her mind. I don't let people trash what's mine. She wants to brush it off, wants to believe this is still just a performance. But something about the way he looked at her, it didn't feel like acting. Downstairs, Julian is on the phone with his legal team. His voice is low, focused, lethal. Find out who Sophie's working with. This ends tonight. Outside, a figure leans against a lamppost across the street. A familiar smirk. Landon. Ava sits on the edge of the hotel bed, staring at the lights beyond the glass. She replays the message over and over. This isn't over, Ava. Watch your back. Her stomach churns. She's tangled in something far beyond a fake engagement now. And the sapphire necklace she came for feels a world away. The next morning breaks over Manhattan gray, heavy and uncertain. Julian knocks on her door, holding 2 coffees. Sleep okay? He asks. Ava takes the cup with a small nod. Not really. That text? It's still with me. Julian sits across from her. I've got people tracing it. It's Sophie. I'm sure of it. Maybe with help. She sighs, warming her hands on the mug. Your sister really hates me that much? He shrugs. Tired. She's afraid. Afraid that if I move forward, she'll be left behind. At Hart Enterprises, the atmosphere is electric with tension. Tom pulls Julian aside, face serious. We found something. He hands Julian a new tablet. Sophie's been texting someone. Your fake fiancé's ex, Landon Reyes. They've been in contact, planning something. Ava hears her name and steps closer. Landon? She breathes. He's here? In New York? Julian's eyes darken. He is now. And if Sophie's paying him, it's not going to end well. That night, Ava scrolls her phone in the hotel lounge, trying to distract herself, when a notification lights up her screen. A video, posted from an anonymous account, already going viral. It's low quality, dark lighting. But the figure in the video, a woman laughing in a bar, brushing hands with a stranger, looks like her. The caption reads, Julian Hart's fiancé, caught cheating in Nashville. Comments pile up like bricks. She's trash. Poor Julian. Wake up, man. Gold digger strikes again. Ava's hand flies to her mouth. It's not her, but it might as well be. Her phone slips from her hand, clattering to the floor. Julian finds her minutes later, curled in the corner of the sofa, pale. What happened? He asks, kneeling beside her. She can barely speak. She points to the screen. It's fake. Julian, I swear it's not me. He watches the video, expression unreadable. Then his voice, calm but hard, as steel. I know it's not you. Ava's voice cracked as she backed away from the screen. No one's going to believe me. They've already made up their minds. I'm the villain in this story. Julian stood, sharp and focused. He pulled out his phone. Tom, get the tech team on it. Trace the source of that video. I want names. But Ava grabbed his arm, her fingers tight with fear. It won't matter. That video's everywhere. People already believe it. Why would they believe me? Julian covered her hand with his own. They'll believe me. And I'm not letting this go. She pulled away, overwhelmed, pacing across the room. Maybe I should just leave. Get out of this whole mess. Julian took a step closer, his voice this time firmer, quieter, unshakable. No, you're not running. Not from this. Not from me. We're in this together now. The words stopped her, and for a split second, she wasn't sure what stunned her more, his conviction, or how much she wanted to believe him. The next day, Julian's tech team cracked the case. The video had come from a burner account. IP address? Landon Reyes. Text messages traced back to Sophie. Payment receipts. Instructions, a staged scene with a look-alike. Julian didn't wait. He called a press conference outside Hart Enterprises. Cameras flashed. Reporters swarmed. But Julian stood steady at the podium, with Ava behind him, heart pounding. The video circulating about Ava Morgan is a fabrication, he said, voice sharp as steel. It was orchestrated by my sister, Sophie Hart, and Landon Reyes, and I have the proof. My legal team is filing charges for defamation. Ava is innocent, and I'll protect her from anyone who tries to destroy her. Questions erupted, shouting, cameras blinking. Julian didn't flinch. He simply turned, took Ava's hand gently, and led her back inside. Her hands trembled. Tears threatened to fall. You didn't have to do that, she said, voice quiet. He stopped, turning to her. Yes, I did. You didn't deserve any of this. She smiled through the sting in her chest. Thank you. A rare, real smile flickered across his lips. Come on, let's get out of here. They drove until the skyline disappeared, until the tension loosened its grip. A quiet diner on the edge of nowhere. Burgers, fries, black coffee. Ava watched Julian stir his drink, his gaze distant, then softly, 15 years ago, I almost drowned in a lake in Tennessee. She looked up, surprised. I was 7. Family trip, I slipped under. Everyone panicked, except this little girl. She jumped in, pulled me out. From his pocket, he pulled the sapphire necklace. She gave me this, said her name was Ava. I've been looking for her ever since. Ava stared at the pendant, something deep stirring. I don't remember. When I was a kid, I was in a car accident. Hit my head. The doctors said I lost parts of my memory. Julian slid the necklace across the table. Even if it wasn't you, it feels like it was. She picked it up carefully, fingers tracing the gem. Why does it matter so much? He exhaled. Because she saved me. Gave me something to hold on to when my world was falling apart. My mom died a year later. My dad shut down. But that one act, it stayed with me. Ava held the necklace tighter. A strange warmth spread through her chest. I wish I could say it was me. Julian smiled, soft and sad. Maybe it was. Days passed. The scandal faded. The headlines moved on, but Ava didn't leave, and neither did he. They found a rhythm. Late dinners at the diner, quiet talks in his office, moments that weren't supposed to matter, but did. She caught herself smiling at his dry wit, the way he listened, really listened, when she vented about Landon. One night, he walked her to her hotel room. He hesitated at the door. "You're not what I expected," he said. She smiled. "Neither are you." He stepped closer, then paused. A breath, a beat. Then he pulled back. "Good night, Ava." She watched him go, her heart pounding against her ribs. A week later, a routine checkup. Just a lingering chest pain she had ignored too long. The doctor's words hit harder than any headline. "You're pregnant, Miss Morgan, but with your heart condition, it's high risk." She left the clinic in a daze, an ultrasound photo clutched in shaking hands. Back at the hotel, Julian found her curled on the couch, silent. "What's that?" he asked gently. She handed him the photo. "I'm pregnant," she whispered. Didn't plan it, didn't expect it. He sat beside her, quiet, looking at the small, grainy image, not saying anything, just holding the moment with her. Julian reached for her hand, his voice low, steady. "We'll figure this out. I'm not going anywhere." But Ava pulled away gently, her eyes glossy with tears. "You don't have to say that. This wasn't part of the deal." He tilted her chin up, forcing her to meet his gaze. "The deal's off, Ava. This is real now." She searched his face, looking for the polished, calculated man she met in that bar back in Savannah. But he wasn't there. Only this version of him softer, present, real. "You mean that?" she whispered. He nodded, without hesitation. Every word. And when she leaned into him, resting her head against his chest, the weight of everything she'd carried finally loosened. For the first time, she let herself believe him. But peace never stayed for long. The next morning, Julian's phone rang. It was Tom, breathless. "He's on the move. Noah knows you've kept Ava around. He's meeting with Landon tonight." Julian's jaw tensed. "My brother? What's he planning?" Tom's pause was answer enough. "Something bad. You should get ahead of it." Ava overheard from across the room. Her stomach dropped. "Noah? Again?" Julian grabbed his coat. "Stay here, I'll take care of it." But Ava stepped in front of him, her voice calm but unwavering. "No, I'm coming. This is my fight too now." He hesitated, searching her eyes, then nodded. Together. The city rushed past them in a blur of neon and shadows. Ava clutched the ultrasound photo in her pocket, the sapphire necklace warm against her skin. She wasn't just protecting herself anymore. Whatever was waiting, she was ready to face it. With him. They parked a block from the Rusty Anchor, a broken-down dive in Brooklyn, where even the neon sign seemed too tired to glow. "They're inside," Julian said, voice tight. "If things get rough, you walk." Ava shook her head. "I'm done running." He didn't argue. Inside, the air reeked of beer and bitterness. At a corner booth, Landon laughed beside a man with sharp cheekbones and a colder stare, Noah Hart, Julian's younger brother. Noah looked up, spotting them. A slow, smug smile spread across his face. Look who finally showed up, the happy couple. Julian stepped forward, voice low. "What do you want, Noah?" Noah leaned back, swirling his drink. "Oh, nothing much. Just catching up with our old friend here. Jake's got quite the mouth on him. Says your girl's a real catch. With a whole lot of baggage." Landon's smirk turned cruel. She always did come with complications. Ava's fists clenched. "You don't know anything about me." Noah laughed, slow and deliberate. "Don't we?" That fake video didn't stick, but this? He reached under the table and pulled out a small urn. He set it down like a winning hand in poker. Ava's breath hitched. Her voice cracked. "Where did you get that?" Noah tilted his head, dug it up. "Tennessee Cemetery, wasn't it? You want her back? Get me the Hudson Project contract, the one Julian's hiding in his vault." Julian lunged, grabbing Noah by the collar. "You're sick." Noah shoved him back, laughing. You've always had everything. Dad's golden boy. Perfect son. Perfect company. I'm just taking my piece. Ava stepped between them, her voice trembling. I'll do it. Just give her back. Julian turned, shocked. No, you won't. She met his eyes, heartbreak written across her face. She's all I have left of her. They left the bar in silence. In the car, Julian gripped the wheel so hard his knuckles went white. You're not giving him anything, he said through clenched teeth. Ava stared out the window. He has my grandmother, Julian. I can't just leave her with him. He pulled over suddenly, engine humming in the quiet. I'll fix this, he said, softer now. Trust me, Ava nodded. But doubt had already begun to root inside her. That night, she stood outside Julian's office, her heart pounding. Inside, everything was dark, quiet. She had watched him open the locked drawer before, had memorized the way his hand moved, the code, the rhythm. The contract was in there. She didn't want to betray him, but grief made people do impossible things. She placed her hand on the doorknob. Her fingers shook. Just one paper, one trade. For her, that's all. But even as she told herself that, her chest ached, and the sapphire around her neck had never felt heavier. That night, Ava crept into Julian's office, her fingers trembling as she opened the drawer. There it was, the Hudson Project contract, neatly folded, sealed with his name. She stared at it for a long time. Then, without breathing, she pulled out her phone, scanned the pages, and sent them to Noah. The moment the message went through, she felt it, a twist of guilt, sharp and instant. But she told herself it was for her grandmother, for closure, for peace. The next morning, a message lit up her screen. Meet me at the old warehouse on 5th. Bring Julian. If you want what's yours. Noah, she showed Julian. His jaw clenched. He's setting us up. But this ends today. They drove through the city in silence. Ava clutched the ultrasound photo in her coat pocket. The sapphire necklace was cold against her chest. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. The warehouse was a ruin-rusted metal, broken windows, dust hanging in the air like ghosts. Noah stood alone, the contract on a table behind him. Right on time, he grinned. Nice work, Ava. Team player. Julian stepped forward. Where is it? Noah blinked. Where's what? Julian pulled a small object from inside his coat, a sealed urn. The real one. I swapped it last night. You've been holding a fake. Noah lunged, but his foot caught the broken frame of a window. He crashed through a half-shattered panel, landing with a cry, a thin line of blood trailing from his arm. You'll regret this! He spat, stumbling out into the shadows. Ava rushed to the urn, her eyes welling as she held it close. You got it back, she whispered. Julian nodded. I couldn't let him win. She wrapped her arms around him, tears of relief spilling onto his shoulder. But peace is always short-lived. Days later, Ava was behind the wheel of Julian's car, headed to a routine checkup. The ultrasound photo was still tucked in her purse. She was humming softly, her hand resting protectively over her stomach. Then the brakes failed, screeching metal, a sudden swerve, the crunch of steel against a pole, and everything went dark. Julian burst into the hospital, his face pale, panic in his eyes. A doctor met him at the door, voice heavy. She lost the baby. Her heart condition combined with the trauma, it was too much. We stabilized her, but she's fragile. She'll need time. Ava woke to the sterile white of the hospital ceiling. Julian was there, eyes rimmed with red, his hand wrapped around hers. The baby? She whispered. He shook his head. I'm sorry. She pulled her hand away, tears already falling. It was Noah, wasn't it? Julian nodded. Brake lines. We've got the evidence. She turned her face to the wall, her voice breaking. I can't do this anymore. Your family is destroying me. He reached for her. I'll protect you. But she shook her head. You can't. I want out. He stood, his voice cracking. I'll give you space. But I'm not giving up. The door clicked shut behind him. The days blurred. Ava barely moved from the hotel room. She stared at the urn on the table, the necklace clutched in her hand, the child she would never meet weighing on her chest like a stone. Then came the call. Tom, it's Julian. There was an accident last night. He's in a coma. She raced to the hospital. Machines beeped steadily around his still body. Tubes, wires, bruises on his face, but he was breathing. A nurse handed her his jacket. Something fell to the floor, the sapphire necklace. As she picked it up, something snapped into place. A memory, a lake, a boy sinking beneath the water, her 9-year-old hands pulling him to the shore. She gave him the necklace, a gift from her grandmother, then ran when her parents called. The accident later that year had wiped it all, but now it came back in full. It was you, she whispered, tears falling. I saved you. Julian, it was always you. She took his hand, holding it tight against her heart. Please. Wake up. I can't lose you too. Outside, in a black sedan, Noah sat watching. His arm was bandaged, but his smirk was intact. He dialed a number. It's done. He's out of the way. Now it's my turn. The call ended. The engine purred, and he disappeared into the city lights, leaving Ava alone with her grief. And a prayer. Inside, she sat by Julian's side, the sapphire pressed to her lips, the machines, a fragile lullaby, in the quiet. I found you once, she whispered. Don't make me lose you now. Days turned into weeks, and still, the world outside kept spinning, but Ava didn't move. Her world was here in this room until one gray morning. Julian's fingers twitched, and Ava shot upright, heart in her throat. His eyelids fluttered open, slow and heavy. The machines beeped steady beside him. His voice came out as a whisper, broken and raw. Ava. She choked back a sob, gripping his hand like a lifeline. You're back. You scared me half to death. He gave her the faintest smile. Couldn't leave you. Not again. She leaned in, her forehead resting against his. Her voice trembled. I remembered the lake. It was me. I pulled you out. His eyes sharpened, tears rising. I knew it. My girl. He pulled her close, and the sapphire necklace slipped between them, a silent promise. Returned. Recovery wasn't quick, but it came slow and steady. Julian was moved into a private room, sunlight spilling through the tall windows. Ava never left his side. Every morning, she helped him sit up. Every evening, she read aloud until he drifted off. One afternoon, he handed her a folder. Open it, he said. Inside were documents, shares, ownership, legacy. She blinked. What is this? He reached for her hand. A piece of my world. You're not just passing through it anymore, Julian. I don't need too late. It's yours. And he smiled, tired, but entirely hers. The next day, Richard Hart walked into the room. He looked smaller than she remembered, older, quieter. He stood stiff by the foot of the bed, and eyes never quite meeting hers. Noah went too far, he said. He cut your brakes, and then Julian's. I should have stopped him. Julian struggled upright. Where is he? South Africa. Stripped of everything, no money, no control. He's done. Then he turned to Ava, placing another folder on the bedside table. 10 million, in a trust, for everything we put you through. She stared at it, then at Julian. I didn't ask for this, Richard nodded. No, but you've earned it. Take it or don't, it's yours. Ava closed the folder and slid it aside. I don't want your money. I want peace. And for the first time, Richard softened. You've got it. I'm stepping back. Julian's in charge now. He left. And with him, some of the weight lifted. Julian looked over at her, a quiet warmth in his eyes. "You okay?" She nodded, a small smile breaking through. "Just tired of fighting." Months passed. Julian healed. Ava stayed. Together, they left New York behind, driving south in a rented pickup, windows down, the wind braided with new beginnings. Tennessee was waiting. They arrived at a small church tucked outside Nashville white walls, stained glass, silence wrapped in sunlight. "Here," Ava whispered. In her arms was the urn. They walked to a quiet cemetery behind the chapel. A simple stone, her grandmother's name etched gently into time. Ava knelt beside it, brushing her fingers over the carved letters. "I brought you home, Grandma," she whispered, "and I'm not alone anymore." Julian knelt beside her, his hand finding her shoulder. "She'd be proud of you." Tears spilled down Ava's cheeks. "I hope so." Back inside, the church hummed with soft preparations. Ava slipped into a simple, white dress, nothing grand, nothing borrowed, just hers. Bought with her own savings. Earned. Julian waited at the altar. No tie, just a dark suit, and a smile that stopped her breath. The vows came quiet, honest. "I promise to stand by you," he said, his voice sure. "Through everything," she echoed. Only a handful of guests filled the pews, locals, a few of Julian's trusted staff. But joy was thick in the air. Real, undeniable. At the reception, under string lights and over barbecue and laughter, Ava pulled Julian aside. "I have something for you," she smiled, handing him an envelope. Inside, a new ultrasound photo. 4 weeks, she said, glowing. "Found out yesterday." His eyes widened. Then he laughed deep and full and pulled her into a hug. "Another chance?" She nodded, tears and joy dancing in her eyes. Hours. They danced under the lights, her head resting on his chest, the sapphire glinting at her throat. Later that night, they walked back to the cemetery. The stars were out, the wind gentle. Ava placed a hand on her stomach, voice barely above a whisper. "Grandma, we're married now. And there's a little one coming. I found someone who loves me. Just like you did." Julian wrapped his arm around her. "I'll take care of her. Promise." The sky turned gold as the sun dipped low, and in that quiet, held between memory and tomorrow, they stood in the stillness, a family reborn. The soft strum of a guitar drifted through the warm Tennessee air. Children's laughter rang out from under the string lights. Plates clinked, fireflies blinked, and the picnic hummed with quiet joy. Among it all, Julian pulled Ava into his arms for one last dance. He leaned in, his voice brushing her ear like a promise. "You're my home." She smiled, eyes soft. The weight of everything that came before finally lifting. "And you're mine." They swayed slowly, the world narrowing until there was nothing left but the two of them and the quiet heartbeat of a child yet to arrive. A new thread gently stitching itself into their story. Miles away, under a harsh African sun, Noah sat hunched in a cramped office. Stacks of paperwork surrounded him. The air was thick, still, unforgiving. His fingers twitched over a rusted keyboard, his voice barely a whisper. "They'll regret this." But the fire in him had burned out. There was no one left to blame, just silence. On a quiet golf course in Long Island, Richard Hart sat alone with a glass of bourbon. The empire he once controlled now belonged to his son. And for the first time, the stillness wasn't a luxury, it was a reckoning. Back in Tennessee, Ava and Julian settled into something far more valuable than power. A modest home, just down the road from the little white church. She left bartending behind, took a job at a local clinic, a quieter life, one lived on her terms. Her heart condition, once a looming shadow, now watched with care and grace. Julian scaled back to delegating, letting go, choosing presence over legacy. One evening, they sat on the porch, the sky above them spilled with stars. Ava's head rested against his shoulder. The sapphire around her neck caught the last glint of fading light. "Think it's a girl or a boy?" she asked, voice hushed. Julian smiled. "Doesn't matter. As long as they have your fire," she laughed, lacing her fingers with his. "And your impossible stubbornness." The night deepened. The world slowed. Ava traced the curve of the necklace, thinking of a lake, a bar, and all the chaos that brought them here. "It was worth it," she whispered. Julian pressed a kiss to her forehead. Every second. And they sat in silence, the kind that only belongs to people who have been broken and then found their way back to wholeness. Their future unfolded quietly before them, not perfect, but theirs. A family born from the pieces of the past, stitched together with love. And at last, thank you for staying with us until the very end. This wasn't just a story about heartbreak, redemption, or finding love. It was about healing, about finding your way home after being lost for too long. If this journey touched your heart, even just for a moment, we're grateful. Truly. Sometimes the most broken paths lead us to the most beautiful places, and sometimes the greatest love stories begin when we finally choose ourselves. From all of us at Shining Stories, thank you for listening. Until next time, stay kind, stay brave, and never stop believing in second chances.